friend of mine came up to me, his name's Jason, and he said, listen, he's got this idea called free coffee. I loved it. And what was it about? Make coffee free to restaurants. And I was listening to it, and then I understood what he was saying, and I loved the idea. So what it was about, and I'm going to show you a video shortly, a very short video, and I'll tell you how that went. So let's take a look at the video. But guys, seriously, you've got to see your way through and see how this all ends. Because the lesson here is about understanding that you can have nothing and the next day you're in a totally different mindset. Your headspace is in a totally different space, and you're operating at a level which is totally absurd to what you were a few days before that. And I looked at my surroundings in South Africa and I thought to myself, South Africa is a small market. If I'm going to do this, I want to go big. Let me go to the United States. But I knew nobody in the United States other than the fact that I had a friend, Jonathan, who lived in New York, and not New York City, in a little area of New York, a scary area where I actually stayed. I'll go into that just now. So let me tell you the concept. We made this video, and then I went to America with this video. So let me show it to you.
Who would have thought that technology could make what we love absolutely free? It's coffee's turn. Download the app today and get up to 6 free cups every day. Your location shows free coffee all around you. Simply book your coffee and claim.
That was the video. Okay. Now, I just want to go into just to make sure you understand what the idea was. Often when you go to a restaurant, you've got many tables that are looking empty, or they are empty. And the whole point of restaurants is filling those tables and turning those tables so that they can make more money. So we thought, go to the restaurants, sell them on the concept to give people free coffee. They'll pay us for getting people into the restaurant, and we will charge them for that, let's say $1. We put a price of $1 per person that we could get into the restaurant, and they would pay us for it up front. So that was the idea, and I built this, which is purely a presentation. There was no app. There was zero. It was screenshots that I took on a PowerPoint presentation in the beginning. So if you see here, I found this this video that was on one of the, I bought the video, which was probably on one of these stock sites. And the one thing is, I got that logo design, which was very much in at the time. It was like your Airbnb times, etc. Very clever, just a coffee cup with the handle. We loved it. And I went to my friend in America, and he stayed in an area. This is exactly where I stayed. And in this little room here, it was literally on a couch. I slept there for 6 weeks. I'll tell you why I slept there. That's not me. This is an AI image that I just put. But kind of that's the situation I was in. I was there for 6 weeks. I left my entire family, all my kids. It was a tough time. I wish the apartment looked this good. It was a tough time being without them, the time zone difference, and I was missing time with my family. But I had one job to do there, and I wanted to see, well, if I've got this concept of free coffee, how am I going to get it to the restaurants? So I heard through the grapevine that there was this ex-South African guy, a very wealthy guy that had done well in South Africa. He lost his business in South Africa. He got screwed over by some big corporates, and at the age of like 75, he started again, and he built like the most massive business in America, which he did. And he built a company called Restaurant Depot. So for those of you in America, you would have seen this company. What does Restaurant Depot do? They are suppliers to the restaurant industry. It's where restaurants shop. I mean, how's that for a tagline? That's exactly what they are. It's these big like warehouses where restaurants can go get everything from their food and fruit and vegetables to their crockery, cutlery, pots, equipment. Everything is there for the restaurants. One place to buy everything. And these guys, this guy made so much money that I don't know how the numbers, but I heard something to the extent that at the time, Restaurant Depot was supplying maybe 60 or 70% of food to the restaurant industry around the United States. Now, I don't know the exact details and what it is today, but the bottom line is I needed to deal with these guys, because if I wanted my free coffee, I would be in a situation where I'd have to go from door to door, and I would be unknown. How would I get it out there? So, as I said, I slept on this couch in an area in New York called Bushwick. And to give you an idea of the area at the time, and I don't know how it's improved or not, but I literally didn't go out at night. There was one time I missed the train to get back here, and there were gunshots at night. It wasn't a safe area, and it was very hectic. And then sleeping on the couch, I had one job, and that's all I did, and that's why I stayed for 6 weeks. And that was to get a meeting with the CEO of Restaurant Depot. Now, the only thing we had in common, and that's all I had, right, was that he was an ex-South African. I'm a South African. So, what is the first thing you got to do? And I'm saying this because you guys might be in a situation where you've got an idea or you've got a product and you need to take it out there. And I'm saying nothing is impossible, right? You've got to go for gold, hit the target that you want to get to, but you've got to be focused, super focused to get there. So, yes, I was sleeping there. I was living on literally in the lounge with where my friend was working. He would travel to New York City where he was renovating apartments, and I would kind of travel sometimes with him, go explore the city. But in that time, I was phoning Restaurant Depot trying to get a meeting with the CEO. And there's a gatekeeper, the CEO's secretary. So it was easy to get the number for Restaurant Depot, but he's got a gatekeeper, his personal assistant. So I'm phoning up the PA, the secretary, day in, day out. I'm literally harassing her. I said, listen, I've got an app. I'm here for a short amount of time. Please, I need to see the CEO. I'm not going to mention his name, but a very good guy. And unfortunately, later on, it didn't work out. But I just need to tell you how I did a deal with Restaurant Depot and the CEO. So I keep harassing this personal assistant, and all I've got is this video, remember. So she says, okay, eventually, after 3 weeks of harassing her, she says, listen, you're going to get a call. You've been harassing me, and I can't take it any longer. But the CEO is going to phone you in about 5-10 minutes. And he's going to be traveling in a car, in a taxi or wherever with his driver. You're going to have a very short amount of time. Use it because it's your only chance. So okay, I'm like, oh my God, he's phoning me in like 5 minutes. I don't even know what I'm going to say, and I've got such a short amount of time. But okay, I'm going to deal with it. No matter what happens, I'm going to deal with it. So I'm now, I remember exactly where I was. I was waiting outside. I was standing on the street here at the time, waiting for that call. And that 5 minutes felt like an hour. My phone rings, and he says, hey, he tells me his name, and he says, I hear you've been harassing my assistant. You've got 30 seconds to tell me why you want to meet me so badly, and that's it. So he said, go. And now, I had to come up quickly with a way to get in. This was my only chance. And I said to him these words. I said, listen, you've got a ton of restaurants that buy from you. I've got a product that they need that's going to help them, the restaurants, make more money. That's what I said. I didn't say he's going to make money. I said I've got a way for the restaurants to make money. Don't ask me how I thought about that at the time, but I was lucky enough. That's what I said. He said, wow, okay, call my secretary back, you'll let her know, and she'll set up a time with you. Firstly, the feeling of that, I said, thank you very much, I can't wait. Firstly, the feeling of that was amazing. I just felt, oh my God, look what I've achieved. I almost felt like I'd done the deal, okay? But obviously I hadn't done any deal yet, haven't even met the guy. And I put down the phone. Now, the last thing I want to do is harass his secretary again to say, give me a time, give me a time, give me a time. So I waited out. She phones me, I don't know when, maybe it was a day later, 3 days later, whatever the case is, she phones me. She says, listen, I'm going to schedule you in for 3 weeks' time. I'm not arguing about that. I'm not telling her I'm sleeping on a couch, living on nothing to eat. My family doesn't even know the pain that I'm going through while I'm there. They'll only find out when they watch this video. But the amount of challenge that I had trying to stay there without them eating how I was eating, just to make this happen, it meant everything to me. There's a word for it. I'll put the word up somewhere. There's a word for that. Tenacity, I think. I don't know. But I said to her on the phone, I said, great, I'll be there. So she hooks me up. I remember it was around 12 o'clock in the day, 3 weeks into the future. And now I'm going back to phone my family and say, listen, I've got to stay here for another 3 weeks. I'm going to meet him. So I'm now living this hell for 3 weeks. And all I've got with me is the video on my phone, okay, and 3 weeks to start thinking about what am I going to do at that meeting. What I did do, however, was that when I came to the States, I knew that my aim was to go and do a deal with Restaurant Depot. So I knew before I got on the plane, that was my aim, and I wasn't going to leave the United States without a deal. So you're talking about someone who had nothing now to do a deal with someone who was so massive. How did I do it? So 3 weeks, I'm not going to bore you what happened for the 3 weeks while I waited, but the time came, the day came for me to go. I put on my suit because I brought a suit from South Africa. I was well dressed. I remember it being quite a hot day. And the only way I could get to head office was, it was too expensive for me to catch a cab. It still cost me $100 to get there. And I paid some guy who was driving a rubbish truck with building materials to take me there and drop me off. I didn't know how I was going to get back. Or maybe he waited there for me, I can't remember. But he was from this area in Bushwick. And he takes me there, and I think, you know what, I'm going to be an hour early So the last thing you want to do is be late. I don't know what the traffic's like. It was about a 20-minute drive, and in New York that can take 3 hours for all you know. I wanted to go early, so I made sure that I would arrive there an hour early. So we got there, and I arrived an hour early, and underneath their head office was one of their big stores in New York. And I wanted to burn a bit of the time with really to understand what that particular restaurant depot looked like. I went in, I walked all the aisles, and I'll never forget, I saw a massive Tabasco sauce. It was huge. The biggest Tabasco sauce I'd ever seen. Took pictures of it. I'm sure I've still got those pictures. Anyway, walked around and then carefully watched the time, and 5 minutes before the meeting, and the lady, it's not the PA because this is a big company, it was someone at the reception desk, says, how may I help you? I tell her who I am and that I've got a meeting with the CEO. She says to me, he had to travel to LA. He had a family emergency. Someone unfortunately passed away. He was very sick. I can't remember. I think someone passed away. And it's just, you're not going to have that meeting today. And I felt just everything rushed through me. I was distraught. I didn't want to show it. But there was no way. I'd spent now 6 weeks on a couch, and I couldn't stand it another day. And I just said to her, listen, I've been here, I've waited for this meeting for 6 weeks. I'm not leaving here. I know I can't see Stan, and I know he's out at this family tragedy. I have to, who's the next in charge? At least let me show them what I've got. Let me show them what I got. And I go meet the guy, and a friendly guy. He's not a South African, but now he works with a South African. And I said to him, listen, I've been here for a while, and I've got to go back home to my family. Let me show you what I've got. So I showed him the video of what I had. I didn't tell him I didn't have it. When you look at that video, you see that the actual app's being used, but it was fake. I faked the whole thing. Fake it till you make it, you know. So he saw the video, he loved it, and he said, listen, he's so sorry what happened that I didn't get to meet the CEO, but he's going to make it happen. But I'm going to have to come back to America. So now I'm like, sure, okay, it is what it is, and I leave. I go back to South Africa, I spend a bit of time with my family, I don't know, maybe it was a few weeks, maybe a month, and up and down on emails, I was coordinating now with the PA to set up another time with the CEO. In fact, with both of them, they were going to both join me in the meeting. And I had to go back, I had to pay for more flights, go back to Bushwick. We sit down in the boardroom, I show him the meeting, I show him my energy and excitement of how I'm going to help restaurants make more money, because we're going to fill up their tables, and by filling up their tables, it means more customers. It means that they're going to buy more food and drinks and plates and knives and forks from Restaurant Depot. And we stand up after about 45 minutes, he shakes my hand and he says, let's start this in Chicago. I said, great. He said, that's what we're going to need to do. He said, come back, let's start doing the planning. And I said, listen, I need a bit of time. He didn't know that I didn't have an app. He thought I had an app. I said, okay, fine, no problem. By the way, I didn't even have money to build an app. I said to him, listen, send me an email if you don't mind, just a little brief summary that what you want me to plan for. And he said, and also, like he said, listen, and we want half of the business. I wasn't going to say no. I mean, I'm dealing with here a guy that it's like a miracle that I even got to this point. So I said, just put it in an email. I'll go back to Johannesburg and I'll get organized. And by the time I come, we'll start working on the plan of working with Chicago, the restaurant depot in Chicago. Now, what's interesting is why I said Chicago is Chicago has or had around 30,000 restaurants in a very small area. That's how many restaurants America has. And there's just 30,000 just in Chicago alone. I don't know, as I said, what that number is today. It might be 25,000, it might be 40,000. I mean, South Africa, I don't even think has that many restaurants in the whole country, including all the chains. And we not, the 20,000, 30,000 he was talking about was not even chains. Those were just like smaller restaurants. So I go back to South Africa and I'm like feeling awesome. I can't believe what I've got a deal. Okay, it's not a signed contract, but I've got a deal. They're gonna do this with me. But I realize that while I'm on the airplane, I've got a bit of a deeper problem. I've only got a video. I don't have any technology. I drew it up to make the video and I made it kind of look good. But I'm not going to fool anyone with a video. The next time I go to Chicago, and that's going to happen fast, because I can't let them wait too long, I've got to go with an app. So I come back to South Africa and I go to a friend of mine, his name's Shane, and Shane and I are good friends today. And Shane's very well connected. He sets me up with a friend of his at a bank in South Africa called Standard Bank. He doesn't tell him anything. And I go to meet this guy at Standard Bank to say to him, to show him an idea, and then I need money, and would I get funding? Could they potentially fund me? Again, I arrive there in this beautiful building in Rosebank. I'll show a picture of the building. Amazing. And I go there ready on time for the meeting, so never be late for important meetings. That's critical. Rather be early, and you can tell them when you arrive. You don't want to be too early and say, listen, I'm here an hour early, can we start? You arrive 5 minutes before and you let them know that you've arrived. Anyway, I got put into a big meeting room which had, at that time, a massive TV screen. I hooked up my laptop so that I could show the video on this TV screen. And that's all I had. But I had one extra thing. I had an email from the CEO of Restaurant Depot saying, let's go for it. And I had a little bit of information about Restaurant Depot that I could share. I didn't have any numbers with me or anything like that. So I go to this guy at Standard Bank, and he says, so I put on the video, I introduced myself, his name I think was Richard. I introduced myself, and he says, okay, what have you got? So I hit play, it's really there on pause on the screen. All I have to do is hit play, I hit play, and I play that video. And I'll play it again, or I'll leave a link to that video where you can see that free coffee video. And he looks at it, and I said to him, look, I've got Restaurant Depot on board in America. Here's an email, and they supply the whole entire restaurant industry with food, and they're keen to do business. And he looked at it, it's from the CEO. He stands up and says to me this, he says, listen, how much? And he says, we're going to close this deal tomorrow. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even come with numbers. So now I've got to pull something out of my head. So I thought, well, very quickly I thought, I'm going to need to get a number that's going to give me enough time to build an app and do a lot of stuff so that I go to Restaurant Depot and we can run this thing. And I'm going to need a lot of money. And I know apps take good money to to build and to actually execute. For those of you who don't know what execute is, it means you've got how you take it to market, what are all the steps you need to do to actually get it working and running, and marketing and operations and finance, etc. You've got to execute on it properly, and that's the role of an entrepreneur in a business. So I got to give him an answer. He's waiting for an answer. I can't be too long. In fact, I don't think it took me 30 seconds. And I said to him, I need 40 million. I didn't say, now 40 million, let me just be clear, guys, not $40 million. It was 40 million rand, because in South Africa you don't quote, you generally don't quote dollars when you're pitching to an investor. So that was about $3.5 million at the time, based on the exchange rate at the time. And he said, cool, we'll have our lawyers here in the morning. Let's get going. We will start our paperwork tomorrow. Firstly, I could not, the smile I had inside, because you don't want to show that you're so excited that you're going to scream, which I needed to burst out and shout to the world like you cannot believe, like I'm free. Okay, I was beside myself, and I couldn't wait to be alone with myself to actually just understand what just happened. I'm going tomorrow morning to do a deal, and it didn't just, these things don't happen on first deals. I tried lots of other little things before, some successful, some not successful. But this was by far the biggest at the time for me. And I shake his hand. I said, cool, I'll be here tomorrow morning. He goes, and you cannot believe just the excitement. I'm literally shaking. I'm shaking. And I remember going home that day. One of my kids was still in the pram, in the push cart. I don't know. In South Africa, we call it a pram. I get on the street, I walk, and I phone my brother-in-law. I tell him what happened. I phone one of my good friends, tell him what happened. He's an accountant. Everyone's like so happy for me, and if I tell you, what I felt like was that I had a chance. I knew I wasn't through it yet. I wasn't through the hurdles yet. But I had a chance, and it was amazing. So I just, like, the freedom, it's like you feel like a millionaire already. It's like you've already written into the books in your head, like, okay, I'm a millionaire, this is how much I'm worth. And so I need to tell you that that's all BS. You're worth zero until the business makes money, and you've got to know that. Even though you get investment, you are worth absolutely zero, because there's still only an idea stage. But what you do have, and what I had, is I had a chance of making a success. Sorry, there was another bank in South Africa called First National Bank. It was partly owned by Barclays, and Barclays pulled out of South Africa because of maybe the political situation or the economy. I'm not exactly sure, but they pulled out of South Africa. And the CEO of Standard Bank got, I think everyone was in shock, and she closed all doors, all deals that were on the table, including mine, said, sorry, we're not going ahead. So we went 6 months with legal, down the work, down the road. You can imagine how this made me feel. I'm like, what am I going to do? The only benefit that I had was that I had actually built the app in these 6 months. Something that was a minimum viable product to take to America. I finished it. I went to America, and we now go launch, and we fail dismally. It took about 1.5 years to fail. and we could have failed a lot quicker, and that's what you want to do. You want to fail quicker. But the point of the story for this video, guys, is I had an idea that I had to fake, and I made a plan to do a deal with the CEO of one of the largest organizations I'd imagine in America, worth billions. I did a deal, and I raised money at an amazing valuation without anything. And I'm saying to you that it's possible. If you've got an idea, don't be scared of telling people the idea. Most people will hear an idea. Most people are not even going to put the effort in and try to pull it off, and they don't necessarily have the enthusiasm and the energy to put it off. You have to be dedicated in a business 100% of your time to pull it off when you're starting out, and that's what's needed. So no one's just going to copy ideas. Don't be scared to speak to a few people. Don't ever go to a CEO of a business and ask them to sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. That's the worst thing you can do, because it's a joke. Just go out there and live that dream. Because from a guy who was brought up in a children's home like I was, who had no money and was there because of no money, went out, slept on a couch in a place where there were gunshots at night, left his family behind for 6 weeks, only to be let down and have to come back and still close a deal with the CEO that I had set out to in the beginning, and then come back and raise money to go and actually make it happen. I achieved all of that. And you've got to use everything within your body, within your brain, within your blood, and go through whatever suffering you may need to suffer to do it. And one day I'm going to want to go and visit that same apartment and say, hey, that's what I went through. But I visit that story in my head often. And I want this to be a energizing video so that you know that you too can do it. Please, guys, if you like this, please subscribe to my channel. I've got so many more stories that I'd like to share. I look forward to seeing you. I hope you subscribe, and I enjoyed every second of that. I've been wanting to do it for a long, long time, and there it was.